Former Chief Pathologist Moses Njue has appeared before a Nyeri court today, charged with running medical courses at the King's Medical College without proper licensing. This is after an inspection by the Kenya Medical Laboratory Technicians and Technologists Board officers stated that the college was not credited to offer the medical laboratory course. Njue is among four others who were before Principal Magistrate Philip Mutua, and among them a student who is accused of assaulting a police officer during the closure of the school earlier this year. Just yesterday, Moses Njue was charged with stealing the hat of a deceased person on the 25th of June 2015 at the Lee Funeral Home. He also faced other charges of destroying evidence, knowing that the hat could have been used as evidence during judicial proceedings. Our reporter Raquel Muigai now joins us live from Nyeri with updates on what really happened in court earlier on in the day. Raquel, good afternoon. Seems Moses Njue is followed by a lot of bad luck, so to speak.
Yes, Kesa, it appears to be that it is a very trying time, a very tough time for Moses Njue, who was once a renowned chief pathologist in the country, having served between 2004 and 2012 when he actually resigned, seeking to have time to run the King's Medical College that is situated here in along Narumoro, along the Nyeri-Nanyuki highway. But it appears to be that particular ambition or aspiration to be able to bring out students or bring up students who will follow in his footsteps may not come to completion, given that school was shut down in 2017. However, earlier this year, however, that was not the first time that particular college had been issued with a notice, a closure notice, given that in 2016 a closure notice was issued again by that particular Kenya Medical Laboratory and Technology Board, saying that some of the courses that are being offered in that particular institution are not accredited as it is expected. According to the inspection that was done by that particular board, officers from that particular board, they say that the school does not have enough equipment to actually train medical technologists in that institution, and therefore that was the beginning of their problems. And it has been a back and forth kind of situation from 2016 until 2018, when it appeared to be that it was now getting out of hand and police had to be involved, and the school was definitely unfortunately closed down. That got to interfere with at least 200 students who were studying for that particular course, and the others who were there for other diploma medical courses, and had to stop their education at that point. And therefore it is a very sad situation, given that for those that had aspirations of becoming medical practitioners, that could not happen. And some of them were just probably in the first, second or third years, hoping to at least achieve something from it, but that was not going to happen. However, today in court, it has also been a back and forth kind of situation, trying to prove that particular course, medical laboratory, was actually offered within the King's Medical College. And one of the questions that has arisen is that has arose is the fact that if this particular closure notice was indeed issued to the school's administration as expected, given that the defense attorney states that may not have happened because there is no way that the school administration will fail to adhere to the laws of the regulatory body, that is the Kenya Medical Laboratories and Technologists Board. And therefore, that is the kind of situation that has been in court, trying to prove whether or not that particular course was offered, whether or not there are any other students actually taking that course in that institution. There's also been the question of whether the Kenya Medical Laboratories Board is the only board that should offer accreditation for that particular course, given that the Ministry of Education as well as NEC had issued a notice that NEC was actually offering examinations for these students who were partaking that course. And therefore, that has been the situation, if possibly how that medical laboratory course was being offered in that institution, yet the Ministry of Education had accredited or had provided permission or had the knowledge of all this situation. Therefore, it's just to wait and see as the case continues on the 6th of July to get to know the fate of Mr. Njue, as well as the other three co-accused, among them also a student who is accused of assaulting a police officer during the closure of that institution on the 29th of January this year. So it is actually a very tough moment for Mr. Njue. Akesa.
Raquel Mugai for us there in Nyeri. Controversy continues to stalk the former chief pathologist Moses Njue, but of course a story that we'll continue to keep our eyes on here on KTN News. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has assented to the cybercrimes bill, which criminalizes abuse of persons on social media through the Cybercrimes Act. The national government is going to establish a National Computer and Cybercrimes Coordination Committee. The act provides for offences relating to computer systems such as unauthorized access, unauthorized disclosure of passwords, cyber espionage, publication of false information, child pornography, among others. According to Clause 12 of the Act, publishing of false or fictitious information will attract a 5 million shilling fine or a 2-year jail term. Though the act has stirred a lot of mixed reaction from various stakeholders, more so journalists and bloggers, the government says it is meant to remove a legal lacuna. Let's now take a look at some bits of that particular act. Of course, that bill was signed earlier on in the day by President Uhuru Kenyatta, now making it the Computer and Cybercrimes Act. So let's take a look at what really it says so that you don't really get yourself on the bad side of the law. So on false publication, what we commonly refer to as fake news, this particular act says that a person who intentionally publishes false publications, misleading or fictitious data or misinforms with intent that the data shall be considered or acted upon as authentic with or without any financial gain commits an offence and shall, on conviction, be liable to a fine not exceeding 5 million shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years or both. That is on fake news, and it doesn't really matter whether there will be financial gain or not. You will be liable for 5 million shillings or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years or both. So now on cyber stalking and cyberbullying, something that has been very rampant of late, a person who individually or with other persons willfully or repeatedly communicates either directly or indirectly with another person or anyone known to that person commits an offense if they know or ought to know that their conduct is likely to cause other persons apprehension or fear of violence to them or damage or loss of that person's property or detrimentally affects that person. This will attract a fine of about not exceeding 20 million Kenya shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 10 years or both. On child pornography, this particular act says that a person who intentionally publishes child pornography through a computer system, produces child pornography for the purpose of its publication through a computer system, or possesses child pornography in a computer system or on a computer data storage medium, commits an offence and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 20 million or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 25 years or both. This was, of course, putting a warning out there for those using children, especially on sexual videos and whatnot. Now, on unauthorized access, a person who causes, whether temporarily or unauthorized permanently, a computer system to perform a function by infringing security measures with intent to gain access and knowing such access is unauthorized, commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 5 million shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 years or to both. This is on unauthorized access. Now, on unauthorized interference, this particular act says that a person who intentionally or without an authorization does any act which causes an unauthorized interference will be liable to a fine not exceeding 10 million shillings or to imprisonment. This is on unauthorized interference. But on unauthorized disclosure of passwords and codes, a person who knowingly and without authority discloses a password, access code or other means of gaining access to any program or data held in any computer system commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 5 million shillings or to imprisonment term for a term not exceeding 3 years or both. So be on the know. This bill was signed today by President Uhuru Kenyatta, officially making it the Computer and Cybercrime Act, and of course touching on an array of issues: unauthorized access, unauthorized interference, child pornography, fake news on social media, and of course on cyberbullying and cyber stalking. More on this Cybercrime Act on the big story tonight at 8 p.m. They will be majorly focusing on what this bill means, not just for journalists and bloggers, but for you who uses social media every day, the pros and cons of this bill, and some of the controversial voices that have been on this particular story. Now, landowners in the expansive 44,000 Njue settlement scheme in Mbeere South constituency are asking the government to provide them with adequate security. The landowners issued a 14-day ultimatum to Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i to provide them with security during a meeting held at Umau Grounds in Kiritiri. They accused the government of protecting people, causing mayhem on the settlement scheme. Led by the chairman, Kirinyaga Council of Elders, Joram Kiama, Chairman Mbeere Council of Elders Eston Ireri, Chairman of Embu Council of Elders Richard Gishangi, the elders said the suspension of the resettlement exercise was taking too long, claiming it was giving room to people who are not bona fide members to benefit.
Njue Mwea ni ya watu ama ni ya jamii ya Mbeere. Kwa Kiingereza, Mwea belongs to Mbeere community. Kanateguo? Na kwa vile sisi ni watu kakarimu sana, tukakubali tugawe huko na majirani wetu.
Atupewe security, tuwebe. Mimi nataka kujenga kwa shamba yangu. Kwa sababu wakati kupeana mashamba huko si kupata. Mimi nakalia shamba ya mama yangu na niko na watoto wangu. Na kama niliangukiwa na kashamba moja, siniachilia mheshimiwa Matiang'i alipea security nipeleke jamii yangu huko. Na kama si hivyo, enough is enough. Hatuwezi tukatumia mafikira ya mtu ama watu wawili watatu wale wanafanya mambo huko na serikali haiangalii hiyo mambo.
Na hivi sasa tuko hapa tuwasomi wanajua sababu ya watu kutuona sisi kama ni wajinga. Tuwataka serikali ijue, hata si ati kuongea sana. Hiyo siku 14 sikiisha, kusema kweli na haki ya Mungu, huko tutaenda kia nguvu, na hiyo mshamba tutashika na itakuwa yetu, maana ni yetu, na tulipewa title na kila mtu anajivunia nafasi yake.